Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about ROG profit crafting. So this is probably one of my favorite league mechanics in the game. It's expedition, it's ROG, it's crafting, it's a little bit of everything that you can possibly get from Path of Exile, and we're specifically talking today about profit crafting. This is also known as the ROG is POG strategy. This is a extremely lucrative beginning of the league strategy, and we're going to talk about basically the entire process beginning to end, and just some of the tips that I've learned along the way, and we'll do a couple of showcases of exactly how you can make money with this strategy. So let's jump into it right away. I want to start with some disclaimers, so if you skipped ahead to the gameplay, I'm sorry that you missed the disclaimers, because I think they're really important. This is specifically a league start currency maker. This profit making strategy falls off quite quickly because the gear that ROG produces is not usually like super endgame or super blasting maps viable. This is more so it'll get you through to red maps type of gear, it'll get you to bossing, get you your void stones, but after that, ROG doesn't really produce the ultra mega lucrative gear. It's extremely rare. I've pretty much never seen it. So there's that. The other disclaimer, a couple other disclaimers, this is super trade reliant. This is not solo self-found. ROG is good for solo self-found just for crafting your own gear. I do think that, but obviously it's not going to make you profit, nor do you particularly care about profit if you're playing solo self-found. So make sure to throw it out there. The other thing is you spend a lot of time in your hideout. This is not a strategy I recommend for people who just love playing the game or blasting maps. You're going to be probably in your hideout, I would say 80% of the time, and 20% of the time you're going to be actually playing Path of Exile. So again, that being said, you're not going to get a lot of experience doing this because you're just basically sitting in your hideout trying to make profit. So if this is really just how you like to play the game, keep that in mind. And last thing I want to put in there is you need to know the basics of crafting. I debate even putting this in here because I think ROG is actually a pretty good way to learn some of the basics of crafting and what and why words are important, and it's very highlighted and kind of shows what to do. But you definitely need to know what you're clicking and what that's going to actually do to your item, as we'll discuss when we go over what ROG actually does here in a little bit. So the next thing I want to talk about is the gameplay loop for ROG. So this is pretty simple. You run Order of the Chalice logbooks. If you don't know what a logbook is, these drop from the expedition encounters and maps, and then they will appear in your inventory, and you can take them to Danning, one of the other expedition guys, to open the map. They have different types. The one we're looking for is called Order of the Chalice, and this gives you the currency that ROG uses for crafting. We'll jump into the gameplay in a second here. I can show you exactly how I roll my logbooks. Basically, you run these logbooks, you get artifacts and currency to craft gear with ROG, sell the gear, profit. It's pretty simple. It's not a revolutionary gameplay loop here, but it is pretty fun to me. I like crafting. This is like the easiest introduction you can get to profit crafting in the game, I think. So, go. Let's jump into logbook running because this is step one of the process, basically. So step one is actually getting a logbook. You have two ways of getting your logbook. You can run maps and do expeditions to drop logbooks naturally. This is very slow. It'll take you a while. Logbooks aren't super common. Then you also need to get a Order of the Chalice logbook. The much better option is to save up a little bit of currency, buy a logbook off of trade. They can get to be quite expensive at the beginning of the league, but they're usually very worth it. But they can be a little bit challenging too. So there's a balance there. They usually are, like, no matter what the price is, pretty worth it. So you roll the logbooks. I try to get to 70% plus quant. Use sacred orbs, not scared orbs, to get a good roll on your affixes. Next, we're going to target boss. We're going to jump into the logbook and target bosses, underground areas, and then after that, we would target high value mods. So these are currency mods on the chests, increase artifact rewards from monsters, and then lastly, avoid bad mods. So each one of these chests, these mod pools that you see, will give you a plus and a minus. You want to avoid the mods that like actually brick your build. So with that being said, we're going to jump straight into logbooks. Alright, so here we are at a hideout. We have a logbook and we're going to craft it. So basically you're going to get your logbook. I always say get down to the basics, down to gray. It's an Order of the Chalice. You can see in the top line there. So what we're going to start off, we're going to get this to rare level with an Orb of Alchemy. Okay, actually hit right away. Item quantity 71 plus. This is pretty much we're looking for 70 plus quantity. It can take a little bit. I think it's super worth it. You end up getting way more logbooks, way more scrap metal, not way more logbooks, you get way more Orders of the Chalice currency, way more scrap metal to actually do the ROG crafting by getting a higher quantity. So if you didn't get that, what I would do is I'd use Orb of Scour and then an Alch Orb to do it again. If you are for some reason super rich already early in the league, you can use Chaos Orbs to reroll, but Orb of Scour, Alk Orb to get another rare roll. Alright, so that's step 1 of rolling your logbook. Step 2 is to look at the Order of the Chalice. So we're going to look at the rolls on Order of the Chalice here. You can see that we got increased quantity of artifacts dropping monsters, increased number of explosive, increased explosive radius. We see we got pretty low rolls on these. The one that's really going to be important to us is quantity of artifacts. Really want to get all of these to like 30 plus, but I'm going to focus on quantity of artifacts just to speed this up a little bit. So we're going to take a Blessed Orb. I don't know why I said Sacred Orb in the video before this, but we're going to take a Blessed Orb. Let's roll this. So perfect right away. This perfect video. 40% increased quantity of artifacts, 40% increased number of explosive, and 10% increased explosive radius. Explosive radius is not super important. Obviously, the other things are nice, but we hit a max roll on quantity of artifacts right away, so we're just going to take it and go. Alright, so we take it out here. We're going to go over and talk to Danig, and we're going to go show expedition map. We're just going to put this in here. I'm not going to run this map, but I want to show you what I look for right when I get into a logbook. So we click on look, make sure you click on the one that's Order of the Chalice, and we go open portals. Then we walk over to our map device and enter the map. Right away when entering, I always bring up the entire minimap, and there are a couple key things I look for. I'm looking for these little underground areas here, and then I'm also looking for a skull-looking symbol. This is a boss. By far the best thing you're going to look for in this game is the skull symbol. I do not see any here. It's quite obvious on the map. It'll be like a big skull. Other than that, you're just going to try to, when you're placing your explosives, you're just try to map towards each of these underground areas. And then I target these blue symbols right here. This one means it'll expose a chest that has expedition currency and artifacts. So that is what you want to be looking for. And then when you get to these, this is not something I would take. Grants increased experience. I don't particularly care about. I'm going to try and find one quickly that does something like increased rarity. Again, this is not something we care about. Try to find another one. Contains additional rare armor. Again, not something we're going to like target for. I always try something near me that's going to help right away. Incubator, no. It's nice to get one of these early on your path, because the way this works is that all these mods will carry forward on your chain. So like the first thing you place down will be good. So this is what increased quantity of items dropping monsters. Monsters are immune to chaos damage. Obviously, if you're running a chaos build, don't click this one. You will not be able to do the logbook. My character does not do any chaos damage, so this would be perfectly fine. I could start somewhere over here. I just get an increased quantity of items dropped. So that is how I set up my logbooks. I'm not going to run this, as we're going to add like 5 to 10 minutes to the video, and I don't think it's super necessary. Just watch my build, kill stuff, but I'll show the results afterwards, and we'll jump into the actual crafting portion of the video next. Alright, so next is the crafting portion. We basically finished the first half. This is about of the process, which is actually running your logbooks and getting the raw currency that we need. Now we're going to jump into the crafting part, which is to me the much more exciting part and is more interesting part of this crafting strategy. The important thing with crafting is that knowledge is everything. So what I'm going to go through here is like knowing your bases, knowing popular mods, and then also like a little aside is knowing when to quit. Sometimes ROG just doesn't cooperate, and you're not going to get any good mods, and you gotta know like I'm done sinking my currency into this. I'm gonna move on. So quickly, I made a little tier list of ROG bases. This is my personal opinions. I have no proof of any of these being actually worth more, but this is just from my experience what's easier to sell and what's easier to make profit on. S tier, absolutely beginning of the league, is rings, helmets, and gloves, because they basically, besides uniques that are build enabling, these are things that are just you're looking for like life and resistances, and it's super easy to get that from ROG. Next thing up, we have the A tier class. These are things that are like I would consider S tier, but they need a couple special abilities, or they're not as popular. For example, shields, not quite as popular. Belts not as quite as popular because I don't believe you can get Stygian vices from ROG, so those are a pretty popular belt. Shields, about half the builds in the league use shields, so you're not getting your full widespread audience for your trade market. Amulets and boots, on the other hand, are everybody uses amulets and boots, obviously, but boots have a little caveat that they need move speed and life usually to be popular for the trade market. Then a lot of people like to get amulets with +1 level of skill gems. Next up is my B tier section. B tier is where I really start to like look at the item before I just like start crafting on it. So for this example, bows and claws, we're looking for like tri-ellie or quivers. You're looking for something that's already kind of built, has mods on it from the get-go with ROG, so you don't have to like invest too much into it. I'll show you some examples of that coming up here. C tier wands, one-hand weapons. These are things that like need like absolute necessary items or mods on it before I would even like consider starting rod crafting on them. So wands, for example, would need +1 skill gems. Probably the same for one-hand weapons. They would need to be well rolled already, stuff like that. Everything else is F tier. You'll notice body armor's not on here at all. Two-handed weapons. Anything that needs a 6 link is not on here. ROG does not give out 6 links. I've never seen it. So that's that. Last two things to this tier list: armor/evasion bases, armor or evasion, hybrid armor evasion, armor ES, evasion ES are all better than just flat ES for your armor types. I would kind of avoid ES. They're not pure ES builds are not very popular being in the league, so I'm going for armor evasion bases. And then resist rings are higher priority than the other type of rings, like life or mana. So amethyst rings are by far the number one thing. If you've seen amethyst ring, I would just start crafting on it. Like that's the first thing you should go for. Other than that, two-stone rings and resistance rings are quite good as well. Priority mods, rings, and amulets. For a ring to be really like good priced on the trade market, it needs to have the minus mana cost to non-channeling skills mod. This is a prefix, so it's really important when you're rolling rings and amulets, most likely, to leave an open prefix so you can craft this on. It's about, I think it's a 4C craft. It is by far worth it. People will search for rings that have this on there. A lot of people being in the league will search for that mod plus life and look for a ring. So keep that in mind. Helmets, gloves, boots, belts, shields, kind of any of the armor. The two priority mods are max life and chaos resistance, and then move speed. I would say that on almost all of these, move speed for boots, obviously, I would say that almost all of these you want to leave an open prefix for max life. Obviously, this changes if max life ends up on your item while you're rod crafting. But if you go out to the trade market and an item doesn't have a plus max life roll on it, it probably just like won't show up in most people's searches. So you need to leave that open prefix just in case you don't get max life from ROG. You need to be able to craft it on. Claws and bows, basically looking for the try LE plus attack speed, and then also big fizz rolls on the prefixes into attack speed. These reasons I actually look for an open suffix so I can craft attack speed if needed. And try LE is actually pretty, or it's like some of the really common mods on bows. So ROG actually offers that quite a bit. Wands and one-handers, I put it on here, but they need something exceptional. We'll see it in the crafting section if this pops up, but it's extremely rare. Needs something exceptional from the actual beginning ROG process. And then we're going to jump into how to sell quick, just because I think that's important. We're going to need to do a price check using, I use Awaken PoE Trade, use whatever source of price checking you like to use. Kind of figure out like a base price of where you are with your piece of gear afterwards. I'd like to create multiple tabs at different prices. So one div, 100C, 50C, 20C, 10C, whatever. I throw the item in there. If it takes a long time to sell, I move it to the tab lower until it sells. It is extremely, extremely important. If you take anything away from the ROG crafting video, it's extremely important that time is not on your side here. The value of these items is going down every minute the league goes on. Basically, people get this like entry level to red mapping gear, I'm going to call it, and then they try to move on to their like big crafted gear that ROG just can't make. So you want to get these items and get them out of your inventory and sold as quickly as possible. And with that, we're going to jump into the crafting demonstration. All right, let's get into ROG crafting. So we're actually going to talk to ROG now, finally, the actual part of this video. So we're going to spend most of your time actually doing this strategy. So we're going to talk to ROG. We're going to click on deal for items. And he's going to give us a bunch of options here. So as you can see, we have some currency on the side here. We have scrap metal. This is our big currency. You can actually buy and trade this currency. Other ones you have to actually collect yourself. But scrap metal you can buy and trade. This lets you re-roll this window for new items. I see a couple in here that I like. And you see that we have actually quite a bit of currency right now. It's enough to do a few examples. I will mention that I think it's important to probably run like, I would say around 5-ish at least of these, so you can just sit and do ROG. You can like transition from logbooks to do ROG if you do like 5 maps. If you're brand new to this and just want to give it a try, do 1 or 2. Get your artifacts, and then you can try this out and see how you like it. All right, so let's do some crafting. Let's see what happens. So first thing that jumps out to me is obviously this amethyst ring. Amethyst ring I think is by far one of the best things you can do a league start. It gets chaos resistance off the bat, and you can try to roll it. So I'm going to buy this from ROG. These numbers don't particularly matter. I don't even look at them until like they're like below 50, then I start to worry a little bit. All right, so let's think. So we gotta remember what we want on this. We want to get life. So we have chaos res. We want to get life on this ring. We need to roll life on it, or we need to have an open prefix. Right now we have 3 prefixes. It's offering me to remove all prefixes. Perfect. I need an open prefix. So we start there. We have a T6 int, reroll suffixes. It's usually good. Almost always, unless it's gonna brick your item or like make it significantly worse, it's almost always better to upgrade than to skip, because the problem is if you skip, you cannot skip the next one. So we're gonna upgrade. All right, T1 accuracy, not bad. Add a prefix. I don't have any prefixes yet. Let's do that. Max ES, T3, that's not bad. Add a prefix modifier 3 times. All right, so I have 1. This will give me 2. I'm adding a prefix. And that'll leave us 2 prefixes, 1 open, so I can still craft life. Sorry, I'm saying craft life, but we actually want to craft the minus mana cost as well. So we'll do minus mana cost. All right, so now we're at a situation. We're at 2 prefixes. It wants to add a prefix. I wouldn't be able to craft a prefix on this, so we're going to skip. Accuracy is like okay. I think we're actually going to do this. We can't skip it anyways. We got accuracy again. Reroll modifier values. Remove a modifier value. I'm going to skip this actually. Add prefix, upgrade and take. So we're actually going to do this. This kind of brick, we didn't really hit anything great. I'm just going to do this, see if we hit something incredible. This is the ring. Nothing here. The only reason we did that is because even if I crafted, we didn't have enough other modifiers to do anything with this. So I would consider this a brick, and we'll just probably throw it away. So let's try another ring. We have a 2-stone ring. We're just going to buy it and start going. All right. So nothing great on this ring to start off with, but upgrade the level modifier by 1 tier. Cool. These suffixes are actually kind of okay. Regen, dex, and accuracy is okay. I'm actually going to keep them. Ideally, we'd get rid of the accuracy, but T2 dex and a T1 life regen is just fine with me. Alright, so we only have 1 prefix. We can add a prefix. Fill all empty modifier slots. This is probably the worst one. If you ever see this one, I'd just say almost always skip. So we're going to skip. Alright, and we hit a bad spot where we actually have to add a prefix. We still have the chance to remove something, so I'm going to take this chance. We added flat life, which is actually quite nice. And now we got upgrade level of 5 modifiers by 1 tier. This is extremely good, and it's something that doesn't come up very often. So 5 of these are an upgrade by 1 tier. Oh, this is perfect. Now we get the chance to remove the lowest tier modifier. This is one of our prefixes. This is perfect. We can remove this prefix modifier. So we're at 2 prefixes. We're full on suffixes. I'm not going to add a prefix. That'd be silly. We're going to skip that. This is our last option. It says upgrade and take to reroll the suffixes. My suffixes are actually quite good. We have T1 dex, T1 life regen. It's just fine. This is a good league starter item. I'm just going to take this item. This is an item that I definitely would sell on League Start, so we're going to take it to our crafting bench. Bring it over here. Type in channeling. So we have minus non-channeling. This is the 4C craft. It doesn't matter if it's 7 or 6. It just needs to look pretty to sell. So we're going to take this. We're going to do... This is 2 weeks left in a league. I just want to see what the price of this is, just for an example. So just with life, 32 Elierz's dex, and non-channeling, this is 100 chaos ring. Obviously, these prices get a little weird because of not a lot of people are playing right now, stuff like that. But this would be a very expensive ring, even beginning of league start. Probably not 100C, just because people don't have as much money to spend. But it's quite good, and I would definitely be looking to sell this. All right, we'll do one more example. I want to do something that's not a ring, so let's deal for items, and we're actually going to grab these boots, maybe. That's an ES boot. Let's do a helmet. So this is a flat armor helmet. We're just gonna buy this. Basically, I'm just gonna start remove all prefixes. That's fine. Remove. This is a great removal. It's fine. Reroll suffixes. That's good. Neither of these are particularly good. Strength is T1, but the global accuracy is pretty bad. We got T7 fire resist. Add a suffix. This is looking pretty bad. They both go to T1, which is nice from that. Add a suffix. T2 lightning. T1 lightning. Take. This ended up pretty badly. We got no prefixes on it. Let's go on to the next item. We could do these boots. Doesn't have a great start. Usually when I do boots, I try to get like it either has life or has movement speed on it already. It does have life, so maybe we can try these and see what happens. All right, upgrade right away is good. Add a suffix is fine. We're gonna want to craft a prefix for move speed. All right, next we're gonna fill empty mounds. We don't want to fill empty mounds. We want to leave an open prefix. Remove 2 lowest. We will do that. These are really poorly rolled. We'll try to do this again. Reroll prefixes. Armor's not great. We'd rather have movement speed or life, so let's go for it. Increased armor is better. Add a suffix. Only keep best outcome. Fill all. That's a no. Reroll values. Fine. Upgrade twice. Fine. Unfortunately, this item didn't hit life or movement speed, so it's going to be really tough to sell, even if we craft one of those on. So we're probably just going to throw that away. I'm going to reroll once here, and this is probably the last example we'll do. I'm going to quickly look through here. We got pure evasion gloves. These are usually pretty good. We have a ring. We have an unset ring. Unset rings can be quite good if you get the +2 rings. So let's try gloves again. Usually gloves are pretty easy to roll. We got life. I definitely want to re-roll this. It's a bad life roll. So we got double evasion. That's pretty good. Upgrade level of 3 modifiers by 1 tier. That's really good. Add a prefix. We're not going to do that. We're definitely crafting life on this one. We don't have life. We have 2 good prefixes. We're probably not touching our prefixes. Okay, add a suffix. That's good. I actually don't want to reroll the prefixes here just because they're very good. And we got spell suppression. If you get spell suppression life on a glove early in the league, you're set. So we're skipping this. Add a prefix. I'm done. I'm taking this item. So people are going to say this like not great, but we have so far we're going to craft life onto it. I like to roll this a couple times, get it over 60. I don't have any scholars left, but I try to get over 60 life just so it looks a little bit prettier. Over here, we got T1 evasion, T2 evasion mods, a life roll, a T1 res roll, and a T2 spell suppression. This is going to be a pretty expensive item. So we look for spell suppression, a pretty bad life roll, some LE res, and a high evasion number. You see, this is even pretty expensive pretty late in the league. 2 months ago, somebody listed a similar item for 40C. This item now is probably pretty good. This beginning of the league, this is really good. People are trying to get spell suppression like crazy beginning of the league. So this is really good. Alright, before this video turns into like an hour long, I'm going to stop my crafting there. But if this helped you out at all and you stuck it out this long and you're going to try this out at league start maybe and try to make some currency this way, do me a favor, hit the like button. Leave a comment down below. I'm sure I stumbled over my words a few times and you can ask me a question down below, but this is one of my favorite ways to make profit early in the league. I definitely recommend it for any players checking out a different kind of currency making strategy. Alright guys, I'll catch you next time. Bye.